Joining me now is Menzies Research Centre Senior Fellow and also a columnist with the Australian newspaper, Nick Cater. Nick, you're in Hungary this week. Every time I speak to you, somewhere new. But I do want to speak about a column you've written for the Australian newspaper warning the Labor government against its big Australia by stealth push, pointing to the UK as an example of why mass migration with minimum controls could be a breeding ground for ethnic tensions and social disharmony. One could argue the Albanese government is even more reckless than what we've seen in the UK, given their Gaza policy. Even the UK has been more careful in who they let in from that region.
Yeah, they certainly have, Rita. I mean, the UK's big failing is the inability to control their borders. You know, they say it's impossible, they say, to stop these small boats which are, dangerously overladen with asylum seekers crossing the channel. Whatever happened to the British Navy, by the way? I mean, it used to be able to fend off the Spanish Armada or Hitler. Now they can't deal with a few small boats. That's the big problem. 125,000 people have come that way in the last 3 years. And as I pointed out in the column, that is at the heart of this ethnic tension, there's no other word for it, on the streets of Britain. And the focus in Britain has been on those hotels that have been taken over to become kind of mini Christmas Island detention centres right across Britain. More than 300 of them, I think. So this is where the tension lies. And the point about Australia is, well, yes, Anthony Albanese has sensibly kept most of the border protection policies, which he opposed, of course, in opposition, but he's kept them in place. We do deal with boats, although there's been some softening, as we know some boats have landed. But on multiple other levels, he's letting the Australian population down. One on Gaza, letting these people in from Gaza who have no idea who they are. And the other one, of course, allowing dangerous criminals back onto the streets, people who should rightly be deported because they're not Australian citizens. So those two things, I think, combined mean that we are in a terrible place and people have completely lost faith in the government's ability to handle migration. And when that happens, it really is a very dangerous situation for Australia.
There was no reason for Anthony Albanese to go against every other Western country and bring in thousands of people from a region like Gaza that is controlled by Hamas. Why he would do that, why he would inflict troubles upon his own government is beyond me. You think he'd have enough on his plate with the cost of living crisis that we're tackling at the moment?
Yeah. He's got form, though, hasn't he, Rita? I mean, if you go back into the Hansard, you see that he was strongly opposed to John Howard's Tampa solution. He believed that all those asylum seekers on board the Tampa should be let into Australia. And he even accused Gary Hargraves, who was then the member for Moreton, mild-mannered Gary Hargraves, of being a racist for supporting John Howard's policies on this. So, does a leopard change its spots? I don't really think so. I think at heart he's an out-and-out open borders, let them all in lefty. That's what we have in our Prime Minister. He tries to keep that undercover, but not very well right at this moment.